wait for just a minute. More people are coming in. Give it about 3 minutes or so. It's 7, but there's 2 more people supposed to be coming in, so. Welcome.
Thank you.
Hello. Come on in. I sure do. I sure do.
Yes,
Hello.
ma'am.
How are you doing, sir? Where have you been the last few weeks? Have you been out of town?
Working too much.
Just working too much. All
I'm
right.
editing a
Well,
book.
you need to relax.
I will.
Okay. All right. We'll go ahead. Is that all right? We'll go ahead. You ready? Okay. Evening. I'll try that again. Good evening. It's good to see you. I'm Ginger Hertenstein. I'm the pastor here at First Presbyterian Church, and we welcome you tonight, and we welcome the Duncanville Police Department. And they're going to inform us and share some things that we really need to know in light of recent really tragic events. And it seems that you can't be safe anywhere. And so they're going to help us. They're going to talk to us and help us to help ourselves and also to learn to trust them, learn some new skills. And so we are really thrilled that they are here to share with us. And so Chief Robert Brown's going to come talk in a minute, but right before he does, I'm going to share a couple of things with you. You got a little flyer about Santa Cop. And so if we want to promote this, this is a program that is put on by our Duncanville Police, and let me see, having a hard time, pick one up. If you want more information, they brought some larger flyers, and they need gifts for kids, older kids in particular. I believe they don't want stuffed toys. No, thank you, no stuffed toys. They need wrapping paper, they need ribbons, and particularly older kids, things for older kids that often they're the ones that know what kids need gifts because they're out in this community all the time. They see families that are having a hard time, kids that don't have a lot of support, and so that's what they're doing for those kids. Now there's another program. I don't have a flyer for it. It is a new nonprofit started by Linda Dean Miley. How many of you know Linda Dean Miley? She's known quite well in this community. She's used to be with Southwest now, and she started a gift program for seniors, and her gift program includes Christmas gifts, and she wants warm blankets and stuffed toys. So all those stuffed toys do actually have a place to go. She wants socks with grippers on the bottom, small gift cards at restaurants, and there's a thing on the wall out there. You can drop off a gift for a senior at the Chamber of Commerce. And you just tell Steve Martin that Ginger sent those gifts to him. And so, or you can drop them off here if you want to drop them off here as well. And we're going to take care of seniors that don't have family this Christmas in Duncanville. So we're going to also, if you want some more information on what the police have to say, there is a website you can go to. This is paperwork from that website. It's called Homeland Security. If you want the link, you can either email our church and we can give it to you, or you can email Doug Sisk, who is here to share, and he will also give you that link so that you have a lot of resources to lean on. So I would like for us to pray. Is that okay with you? Well, let us bow. God, we come to you tonight knowing that we cannot solve our problems by ourselves. And so we lean on you and lean into you and ask for your help. We ask for your protection of this community, for our witness and our wisdom to rely on you. And we pray for our Duncanville police that you would keep them safe and keep them smart. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, let's start with Chief Robert Brown.
Thank you, Ginger. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Robert Brown, and I have the honor of serving as a police chief for the city of Duncanville, Texas. In the back of the room is Crime Prevention Officer Doug Sisk, and also our SWAT officer, Darius Williams. Officer Williams will do the bulk of our program this evening, but I wanted to start out by, first of all, thanking you for being here. We have a lot of information to share this evening, and we hope that this information that we share will help you be safe. If you'll recall, back in the 90s, there was a horrible school shooting in Columbine. You guys remember that? Well, we really learned something from that. Law enforcement learned a lot from that shooting. If you'll recall, when the shooting occurred inside the school, the police arrived, the SWAT team arrived, and the SWAT team staged outside. And while they were staging outside, the shooting continued to occur inside the school, and kids were killed, unfortunately. So law enforcement really learned a lot from that. And our tactics today are completely different than what they were when the Columbine shooting took place. And one of the things that the federal government did was the federal government began to offer military surplus resources to local police departments. And some of you may have seen our rescue vehicle, and you might wonder, well, why does the Duncanville Police Department have this big armor-looking vehicle? Well, that vehicle is a defense vehicle, ladies and gentlemen. It's not an offensive vehicle. We will use that vehicle in the event we have something like an active shooting event. That vehicle is bullet resistance. That means that our officers are able to get inside that vehicle, get very close to wherever the shots are being shot from, and it protects our officers. And so I wanted to just first of all give you an explanation of why you might see that large vehicle. I know there have been some communities, and I haven't gotten that impression from our community, but there have been some communities that have been offended by, why does my local police department have that big vehicle? And as you begin to see these events that occur across the country, you understand now why we have that vehicle. In addition to that, I want to say thank you to our elected officials, because our police officers, we have rifles. You don't want to go to a rifle fight with just your sidearm. You also want to have rifles. We also have rifle-rated body armor. The body armor that I'm wearing this evening is only resistant with a handgun. It will not protect me if I'm shot with a rifle. But all of our officers do have rifle-rated body armor, and thank you to our elected officials for ensuring that our officers have that equipment. We also train, ladies and gentlemen, with our fire department. There's dual training. In the event there's an active shooter event, our firefighters have been trained to enter the building with us. They will enter what's called a warm zone. For example, if there is a shooting inside this church or a larger building, the police is exclusively focused on where the shot's coming from. That way we can go towards the shots and we can take out whomever is doing the shooting. The firefighter paramedics will focus on whoever is being shot and provide medical attention to those individuals. So I'm going to turn it over to Officer Doug Sist at this point. He's going to share some things as well, and then our SWAT officer will do the bulk of the program. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming out, and we hope that you gain a lot from this information.
Thank you, Chief. I'm going to get sunburned up here. One thing is, we talk about active shooters, and everybody may or may not know what active shooter mean. Basically, an active shooter is engaged in killing or attempting to kill people in a confined or populated area, in a church, in a concert venue like out in Vegas or something like that. That's what you would consider an active shooter. Somebody actively going around shooting or trying to kill people. What you want to do in active shooter situations, because they are unpredictable and evolve so quickly, is the three things we try to teach people is to run, hide, or fight. You want to run away from where the shots are coming from, try to get away, get out of the building, get away from wherever it's happening at. If you can't get out, hide. Get into a room, lock the room, barricade it, stay in that room, be quiet, shut your phones off, and if you can safely, call our police department or dispatch centers, wherever you're at, and let them know what's going on, communicate with them. If you do get out of the building, keep people from coming back into the building. There may be people that are just trying to come to work or something, that make sure they don't get into the building. That just puts them in harm's way. And then if all else fails and you can't get away and you can't hide, you have to confront the shooter, you fight like crazy. You find whatever you can to use as a weapon and you fight. And that's the bottom line. Run, fight, run, hide, or fight is what Officer Williams will talk about some of that. For churches, what y'all need to do for helping y'all is keep your perimeter doors secure. I mean, you only have a lot of times one or two ways in. You want to keep everything else secure. At your doors where people are coming in, have people trained to be greeters. Speak to everybody coming into that building. Make eye contact with them. A lot of times when you talk to people and you see them, if they're up to something, sometimes that deters them from doing it because now you recognize them, you know what they look like, you know who they are. Talk to them. If they come in and maybe they're mumbling to themselves or they're talking to themselves or something, maybe try to direct them into a different area to start talking to them and see what's going on and maybe figure out we need to get somebody else in here to talk to them. But that's what your greeters can do, is just start talking to people as they're coming to the building. If it's a regular churchgoer and maybe they're just not acting right, maybe something's bothering them, that's where you want to have your greeters kind of get to know people and try to fill that out as they're making it into the building and try to deter them or direct them into another room to talk to them. But try to make contact with all of them. Building security, like I said, make sure that your doorways are locked. For nighttime, like when you're coming into the buildings, make sure it's well lit outside so you got good visibility outside. And security systems, a way to communicate with each other, radios if it's a big enough church that you've got multiple entries or places. Make sure your security or your greeter people have a way to talk to each other and let each other know what's going on. And then once you come up with a plan with your church of how you're going to deal with stuff, test it. Do a training day with your church members. But the biggest thing is you want to have your church members all on the plan. Everybody know what's going on and what to do if something happens. So you don't want just total chaos of everybody going different directions when something is going on. You want to kind of have a plan, kind of like when you're in school doing fire drills. They were talking about the shooting out in California. The schools did a lockdown because they practiced doing a lockdown, and that's probably what kept that guy from getting into that building and killing kids. Luckily, only one child got shot. That was one too many. But that's where you want to try to be proactive in taking the test or the training measures and stuff to do that. One of the things I passed, Ginger's got some flyers up here, is there's a retired police officer named Jimmy Meeks. He's retired from Euless, but he's also a pastor. And he does what he's called, his program's called Sheepdog Seminars. And he does church safety seminars all over the country. I remembered it. Anybody ever heard of Colonel Grossman? He goes around doing these training seminars with Jimmy Meeks. And they go all over the country doing church safety seminars. They work with the Wedgeworth church that had the shooting in Fort Worth. They have folks from there come in and actually talk about the scenario that happened at their church. They've got a protection, a seminar coming up on December 2nd on Saturday from 8:30 to 12:30 at the North Point Baptist Church up in Hurst. It's $20, but that covers lunch. And so, like I said, you get some good training if anybody can go to that. I've been to his training before. It's very good training for church safety and dealing with security at churches. So, anybody have any questions for me? My part of it? Yes, sir, Jack. Okay. All right. So, again, if anybody wants to, if you ever want me to come do a walkthrough of your church, do a security survey or whatever, let me know. I'll be more than happy to do it. It's free of charge. It's just part of what we do. Even we do it at your home too. So, but we kind of, like I said, we have this to offer. There's other training that you can do through the kind of the training what Officer Williams is going to be talking about. There are some other classes that are available that I think I've got a PowerPoint on that we can do further training if your churches are actually interested. So I will pass it on to Officer Williams, and he's got a PowerPoint slide, and he's got a video to show.
Good evening, everyone. How are y'all today? Doing all right? I'm going to just set this over here. We'll use that later. So, as officers sit.
Real quick, if there wasn't enough flyers, I'll email them to Ginger, and she can email them out or whatever. Or if you email me at the Duncanville Police Department at dcis@duncanvillepd.com, I can email them if anybody needs a copy.
Alrighty. So as Officer Sisk said, we're going to be talking about active shooter, how to respond. And this is taken directly from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security's IS 907, Active Shooter, What Can You Do? Online training. So I'm not active shooter certified. I've been trained how to respond to active shooters, but this is coming straight from the Department of Homeland Security's PowerPoint, and the link will be provided. Jennifer Johnson? Okay, I provided her with the link, so if anyone has her email and you want that link, you can either email her or Officer Sisk has that. He'll be willing to give it to you. So we'll go to the next slide, or the first slide. No problem. Oh, well, a little bit about myself. I'm sorry, I'm very rude. I'm Officer Williams, been with the Duncanville Police Department for a little over 8 years. I was assigned to patrol, and now I'm kind of transferring over to training and personnel, but I am a SWAT operator. SWAT team responds to critical incidents, hostage situations, sniper situations, barricaded persons, things of that, high risk, warrant or apprehension, things of that nature. SWAT stands for Special Weapons and Tactics. We have the big toys, the big guns, you know, the movies. It basically is what you would think of when you think of a SWAT operator. So that's a little bit about me. And so we'll begin the presentation. Did you have any other questions? Pastor, did you have any other questions? All right, good deal. No problem. All right, so we got it rolling. So active shooter events, unfortunately, excuse me, loving a loved one or losing a loved one to one random act of violence is unthinkable. Unfortunately, recent events serve to remind us that we are not immune to these tragedies. Obviously, like Chief mentioned, Columbine, and I believe it was 99, you had the gunman at the Utah Mall who killed 5 innocent people. We're talking about people who killed 6 people and 3 others injured at Representative Gifford's meeting, basically. I think that was in Arizona. And then at, let's see, Columbine High School, 2000, oh, and I'm so sorry. 12 students and 1 teacher were killed. And then the Virginia Tech, there were 32 people killed in that situation. If this kind of training was given out to other people, then more lives possibly could have been saved. So that's why I'm glad that we're here today, and I'm here to answer any kind of questions that you all may have. So an active shooter is an individual actively engaged in killing or attempting to kill people in a confined and populated area, just like Officer Sisk defined for you. In most cases, there's no pattern or method in their selection of victims. So one of the main things that we tell you is to run, because someone who's actively killing innocent people is not going to have compassion for you. They're not going to say, oh, well, he may have children, he may be married, I'm just going to move on to this person. They don't know. They're just trying to kill as many people as they can. So if you can, we'll get there, run. That's the most important thing. If you can get out safely, get out safely. So understanding the active shooter incidents are becoming more frequent, as we see in the news almost daily. All employees, or we can say members of a church, can help prevent and prepare for potential active shooter situations. Active shooter is an individual killing or attempting to kill people in a confined and populated area. Usually when you see these active shooters, they're usually not at a house. You know, they're out somewhere, at a mall, at a school, at a church, where there's a large group of people congregated, because that's their mission. That's to kill as many people as they can, as sick as that sounds. Typically, there's no pattern in the selection of victims in an active shooter, and the common motives include anger, revenge, ideology, and untreated mental illness. Active shooter is an individual engaged in killing or attempting to kill people in a confined space or other populated area. Most cases, active shooters use firearms, and there is no pattern or method to the selection of their victims. Can anyone think of another method that people may use other than firearms? What other weapons have you seen people using in the news? Trucks, bombs, anything else? Knives, exactly. So, I mean, people can use whatever to carry out these plans. So it may not be a knife, but it may be a knife, it may not be a gun, but it may be a knife, maybe a box truck, maybe a regular truck. You know, people just tend to do whatever they want to do in these situations. Active shooter situations are unpredictable and evolve quickly. Typically, the immediate deployment of law enforcement is required to stop the shooting and mitigate harm to victims. Active shooters usually will continue to move throughout the building and area until stopped by law enforcement, suicide, or other intervention. Most important thing in these situations is to run. Like they said, they'll come in and, okay, let's say they come in here and no one's in here. Okay, now I'm gonna walk down the hallway and look, oh, there's somebody in the office. Now I'm gonna keep going down the hall. They don't just stop. So if you can get out, get out. If you were to run maybe this way and you get caught in a hallway, don't just try and get in one room. If you can get out, get out. So this is a little video put on by Houston Police Department. It is a video, everyone's acting, but it does show you firsthand of what an active shooter could be.
It may feel like just another day at the office, but occasionally life feels more like an action movie than reality. The authorities are working hard to protect you and to protect our public spaces. But sometimes bad people do bad things. Their motivations are different. have to be complicated. There are 3 things you could do that make a difference. Run, hide, fight. First and foremost, if you can get out, do. Always try to escape or evacuate, even when others insist on staying. Encourage others to leave with you, but don't let them slow you down with indecision. Remember what's important, you, not your stuff. Leave your belongings behind and try to find a way to get out safely. Trying to get yourself out of harm's way needs to be your #1 priority. Once you are out of the line of fire, try to prevent others from walking into the danger zone and call 911.
Read. I know that's a little hard to read, but I'll go over all that just so you know.
If you can't get out safely, you need to find a place to hide. Act quickly and quietly. Try to secure your hiding place the best you can. Turn out lights, and if possible, remember to lock doors. Silence your ringer and vibration mode on your cell phone. And if you can't find a safe room or closet, try to conceal yourself behind large objects that may protect you. Do your best to remain quiet and calm. As a last resort, if your life is at risk, whether you are alone or working together as a group, fight. Act with aggression. Improvise weapons. Disarm. And commit to taking the shooter down, no matter what. Try to be aware of your environment. Always have an exit plan. Know that in an incident like this, victims are generally chosen randomly. The event is unpredictable and may evolve quickly. The first responders on the scene are not there to evacuate or tend to the injured. They are well trained and are there to stop the shooter. Your actions can make a difference for your safety and survival. Be aware and be prepared. And if you find yourself facing an active shooter, there are 3 key things you need to remember to survive. Run, hide, fight.
All right, so the most important thing to do if you can is to, you can't run, you need to. And unfortunately, if hiding doesn't work and someone comes in there, then what do you have to do? All right, and in that order, right? We don't fight first. We don't, oh, I'm going after that person. That, if you're a concealed handgun holder or you have a license to carry, then by all means, if you feel you need to put yourself in that situation, then do that. But that's not the first thing for someone that's unarmed to do. Your objectives are to run. If you cannot run out of here safely, to hide. If you can't hide and that person comes to you, you have to act with aggression. You have to fight. And it's not one person. It's not, 2 people step up while 8 people stand on the wall. It's everyone, because it's going to take everyone at that point. And you also have more the camaraderie between you all. I mean, if if it's going to be 10 people jumping on one person, that's a lot better than 2 people and 8 people watching. All right. So let's review the key points of this video. First thing is to run. If you can't run, you need to hide. If you can't hide and they come in, you have to fight. All right. So if there's an accessible escape path, attempt to evacuate the premises. If evacuation is not possible, find a place to hide where the active shooter is less likely to find you. We don't want anybody trying to hide behind the Christian flag up here, all right? That's not good. We don't want that. So find a good place to try and hide. And as a last resort, and only when your life is in imminent danger, attempt to disrupt and or incapacitate the active shooter. It's important for employees or members to be trained so that they can react if they are ever confronted with an active shooter situation. As these situations evolve quickly, quick decisions could mean the difference between life and death. And if you are in harm's way, you will need to decide rapidly what the safest course of action is based on the scenario that's unfolding before you. So like we said, run, warn individuals not to enter the area. Like you saw, the person had on headphones and they were likely about to go in there and the guy tapped them and told them what's going on to get them away. If you run outside and you see other people parking their car and about to walk in, you need to yell at them, let them know, hey, you need to get away, and let them know what's going on. Have an escape route and a plan in mind. That's for the church. If you were to come together and have something to where the members know, okay, if someone were to come in this door and start firing, okay, we're going to flow out this way. If something happened to where someone opened that door and left it propped open to come in and begins to fire, okay, we're going to go out this way, okay? Just have multiple plans. So that way, in the event they don't come in the main entrance, your whole plan's messed up if you say, we're going to run out that door, right? Or if you say, we're going to run out this door and they come in this door and then begin firing, then your plan's out of play at that point. So evacuate regardless of whether others agree to follow. Leave your belongings behind. Help others if possible and prevent individuals from entering. Keep your hands visible as you run out. You never know when law enforcement's coming. If we get that call really quick and we're running, y'all are running out and we see you running out digging in your pockets or something, we don't know who's shooting at this point. We got a call about shooting. So you're running out with your hand in your pocket or something like that. We don't know who the person is. So as you come out, hands up, fingers spread. That way we can see, okay, this person is not a threat as they're running towards us or running past us, okay? Keep your hands visible. Follow the instructions of any officers. If they're telling you get down right there, then get down right there. Don't continue running because that makes you look suspicious at that point. If 9 people get down and one person keeps on running, we have to pay attention to that one person. Now, and that may not even be the shooter, but now we're diverting our attention from what's going on here because this one person's not listening. This may be the shooter, this may not be. So just make sure you're complying with orders. And call 911 when it's safe to do so. That doesn't mean as soon as you hear the shooting, you pull out your phone right now and then start calling because you're not safe. You get safe, get out there, and then you call whenever it's safe to do so. So if you can't run, we need to hide. So your hiding place should be out of the shooter's view. Provide protection if shots are fired in your direction in an office with a closed and locked door. It should not trap you or restrict your movements. To prevent an active shooter from entering the hiding place, if you can, go ahead and lock the door. If you're in a room that has heavy furniture or something, blockade the door, push it up against it. If you can't lock the door and they try and push and give it their all and it's not coming open, they're not gonna waste time. They're looking for people. So stay quiet and stay behind that. Close, cover, and move away from the windows. As far as hiding behind something, you wanna get behind things that have a likelihood to stop a bullet, okay? Hiding behind a chair, that's concealment, meaning the person might not be able to see you, but if they shoot through that chair, it's gonna go through. It's gonna penetrate. Is that an organ over there? Organ? Okay, so the organ, if someone was shooting over here, I wouldn't wanna stay behind there, but that organ may stop a round, okay? So getting behind that momentarily until I can get around that corner and maybe get out, that's not a bad idea. Getting behind something that can stop a bullet, a large fax machine, anything like that. If it happens to be outside and the shooter's shooting at you, then getting behind the engine block of a car is a great idea. There's so much metal and steel that a bullet will ricochet all in there and get lost and likely not travel through there unless it's a very high caliber, okay? If an active shooter is nearby, lock the door, silence your phones. Last thing you want to do is for that shooter to be passing that room because it's locked and then he hears a ringtone coming from in there. That's a bad day because now he's going to want to get inside that room or he's going to focus his attention on that room. Hide behind large items, as we spoke about, and remain quiet. Consider the difference between cover and concealment, like I just explained. So when running and hiding are not possible, when possible, provide the following information to law enforcement. The location of the active shooter, the number of shooters, that is very important. If you know there's more than one shooter, that's vital to officers when we get there. Because if they encounter one shooter and they put him down, now we know there's a second shooter somewhere. But if we only know there's only one shooter and everybody knows there's two and that's not relayed to us, then, I mean, we still have to clear the rest of the facility, but we're searching with a purpose at that time. You know, we're looking for that second person. So that's very vital. The physical description of the shooter. It is a black male wearing a green shirt, camouflage pants, and boots, or tan boots. He has on a baseball hat. That information is important because if I take off my hat, now I still have on the green shirt and the camouflage pants. Or if I take off my shirt and my hat, I still have on the camouflage pants and the boots. So provide as much information as you can for the dispatcher because most people are set in their ways and they want to die in this situation. Some people may be smart. They may not want to die. So in that bag with all that ammunition, they may have brought a whole change of clothes, and now they want to run out with their hands up. Okay, so provide whatever information you have. The number and type of weapons held by the shooter. When we ask for type of weapons, everyone's not everybody doesn't understand guns. What we're asking for here is it a handgun, similar to what I have, or is it a long gun? That information is very important because as Chief mentioned, if they say this person's armed with a handgun, we know, okay, we have certain things that can stop a handgun round that we may need to grab as we're going to this. If it's a rifle or a long gun, at that point, I'm not going to waste time trying to get this stuff because I know it's not going to defeat. A rifle round's it's just going to go straight through that. So I'm not going to waste time getting it. And I'm just going to get there and try and take care of the situation. And the number of potential victims at the location. If you know that this person's down, and as I ran out, I just saw 3 people laying on the ground, just let them know, hey, I saw a few people laying in the sanctuary on the ground. So that way we know, okay, we need to clear that, try and get medics into that area so they can deal with the casualties. And fight as a last resort, and only when your life is in imminent danger, attempt to disrupt and incapacitate the active shooter. You need to act aggressively as possible against that person. Throw items, improvise items. I mean, do we see any weapons in here? Chairs, stands, flagpole. You want to look for heavy things if you can, because I mean, if I hit someone over the head with something heavy, that's a better likelihood of incapacitating that person. I mean, if you hit them with something light, a book or something, I mean, you're probably going to upset them, and they're definitely going to target you, okay? But if everyone's acting aggressively together, then you're going to likely achieve your goal quicker. And you have to commit to your actions. I mean, unfortunately, that person's intent on killing people. That person may go ahead and start shooting, but at that time, you have to commit to your actions. You can't, everyone decide, okay, let's go get him, and then he shoots one round, and then everybody's like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. Because his mind's made up. He's there to kill people, and that's what he's going to do unless he's stopped by someone. When law enforcement arrives, remain calm and follow instructions. Slowly put down anything you have in your hands. If you're running with a cell phone in your hand, I've had a person who was holding a cell phone similar to this. And so that can be misconstrued as anything. If you do like this and then they're like, put your hands up, and you do this number here, you never know what could happen. But we don't want to be in that situation. So anything that's in your hand, if an officer says, drop whatever, or you hear, police, get on the ground, put your hands up, anything. I'm dropping whatever, slowly raise your hands up, fingers spread, so I see this person's not afraid. Right now, I cannot hurt any of you. I can't hurt anyone with my hands up. I can't do it. If I can't see your hands, then you can be hurt. So that's why you want to show your hands. That shows an officer. Sense of peace. Keep your hands visible at all times. Avoid quick movements towards the officer. If you were to just do like that real quick, it's an active shooter situation. Someone's there shooting people, and you just do like this, and that's why they say avoid pointing as well. Avoid pointing, screaming, or yelling. Don't stop and ask the officer for help or directions when evacuating. If I see a police officer come from that door, where am I going to run out? Likely that door where he came from, right? Because I would think that's clear coming that way. I'm going to try and go out the same direction or path that that officer came from. So let's review what to expect when law enforcement arrives at an active shooter scene. The law enforcement's immediate purpose is to stop the active shooter as soon as possible. Officers will proceed directly to the area in which the last shots were heard. The first officers to arrive at the scene will not stop to help injured persons because their first priority is life safety, so they will need to secure the scene first. We can't get our paramedics in here to help anyone until we neutralize the threat. Once that's taken care of, now we can begin treating people. So if we come in, just know that our primary goal is not to treat anyone that's injured. That's for the paramedics after we've cleared everything. Our goal is to stop the threat, to stop lives from being ended. So that's what we're coming in here for. When there's an emergency such as an active shooter incident, it is important to remember that officers arriving on scene may be coming from many different duty assignments and will likely be in various types of uniforms and even in street clothes. Do not be surprised by variances in appearance, as law enforcement officials are trained to react quickly and work together. In Duncanville, you have your patrol officers, you have your traffic division, you have detectives, you have narcotics officers. So all those people wear different uniforms, okay? So a detective may come in a polo and khakis, and he'll hopefully have his badge or a raid jacket or something on. But in the event he's maybe just driving down and he has to run in here very quickly and doesn't have his jacket, they may be in all kind of clothes. I'm in my SWAT uniform today. It will be a vest on top, a helmet, and all kind of things with a rifle. But at the same time, we're just telling you that there may be officers from different divisions that are coming in. So don't be alarmed if you see one of our narcotics guys come in here with scruffy face and they don't look like a police officer, but yet they have a badge hanging from their chest, okay? Additional officers may arrive in teams. These teams may wear regular patrol uniforms or external bulletproof vests, Kevlar helmets, and other tactical equipment, be armed with rifles, shotguns, and or handguns, use pepper spray or tear gas to control the situation. I don't necessarily agree with that one because I don't feel the situation is controlled with all of you in here in pepper spray and tear gas. If we have denied the suspect access to other locations and we know there's no one in there and we need to do that, then yeah, that may be utilized. But I don't believe we will, give you guys pepper spray and all that stuff as innocent bystanders. So, but that's what the Department of Homeland Security put up there. They may shout commands and may push individuals to the ground for their safety. Just so you know, if we're coming here, I'm coming here to make sure that you guys are safe and that you guys don't become victims. So as I'm coming into the building, if you're running out, a lot of times people are very, very excited to see police officers in that situation, so they may embrace them. Just know that we may shove you. We may push you away from us because our goal is to go inside and stop that threat. So if you come in our direction and try and embrace us or something, definitely not a smart idea because we're going to get past you, okay? And we don't want anybody getting hurt. Emergency medical personnel will also arrive at the scene. Rescue teams will treat and remove any injured person. These teams may also request able-bodied individuals to assist in removing the wounded. If we have maybe 10 of you on the ground and we have 3 officers in here, I don't want my officers tied up with trying to get people out and lifting people because I have a sidearm. So if I have some people who are able to assist and hold that person up and get them out of here, then that's what we're going to do. Our officers are going to stay focused on the threat. We're going to have our pistol or whatever weapon that we have able to handle any situation. So remain calm and follow officers' instructions. Put down any items in your hands, bags, jackets, whatever it is just put it down. Immediately raise your hands and spread your fingers. Keep your hands visible at all times. Avoid making those quick movements as far as pointing and physical contact. Avoid pointing, screaming, and or yelling, and do not stop to ask the officer for help or directions when running. Just proceed in that direction where the officer came from. So information and assembly points. After you have reached a safe location or assembly point, you will be likely held in an area by law enforcement until the situation is under control. once you guys get out, you're not going home immediately, okay? We need more information. We need to talk to you, everyone. We need to get as much information as we can from everyone, because this person may say, yeah, the shooter, he had on a red shirt, and then this person over here is like, no, I'm very sure that his shirt was blue. I remember, I looked at him, it was a blue shirt. Okay, so now there's different opinions. We need to talk to everyone to get as much intel. And also, like I said, what's to say that the shooter didn't come in here and put on different clothes and then go outside? So we need to talk to everyone. If we talk to someone who's like, oh, I didn't see anything, and, you know, we do some kind of test that shows he has gunshot residue on him, just whatever, okay, we need to look into this a little more. So after you get away from this hot zone or the threat, once you get outside, you will likely be collected in an area until everything's resolved. Do not leave that area. It's okay. It's okay. Basically, it's just saying don't leave that area until police tell you it's okay to leave. Once everything's done, they've gotten any information that they need, they'll let you know when it's okay to go. This link up here is the link that was provided to Ms. Jennifer Johnson, I believe. And that's where you can go if you would like to get the full training of what I shared with you tonight. This is just the first part of it. For anyone that's currently working, this might be a good idea for you to go take the full training, so that way you can see how this is applied at your place of work. Once you complete it, or after you finish the training, you'll log in to the Department of Homeland Security's website. You'll create a FEMA SID, like a state identification number. And then after you're done, you will get a certificate showing that you're certified in the active shooter IS 907 What Can You Do course. So you'll get a certificate. I mean, the certificate's not much, but just knowing that, okay, now I know what I can do at my place of work, that's a good feeling. So go to the next one. It's okay, I believe the next slide just has my name and then what I do for the police department. So any questions? I saw that hand first.
These shootings often occur just one shooter, or sometimes multiple shooters or double?
She asked, does the shooting usually occur with one shooter, or are there usually multiple shooters? From what I've seen, it's usually one shooter. However, look at Columbine. There were 2 students going in that. And then, I mean, just different events. It just depends on which person wants to come together and, you know, kill people, unfortunately. So there are some single shooters, there are double shooters. I'm sure there have been, I've heard, I can't remember where it was, but somewhere overseas, they went in a mall. And I mean, it was several people with long guns just gunning people down. So, I mean, it could be 4 or 5 people. It could be one person, or it could be 2. Yes, ma'am.
Let me add something to that. Usually it's going to be one, as also Williams indicated. But if it's more than one, generally speaking, they're going to be together. They're going to be together. They're not going to go into different sections alone. Generally, they're going to be together.
Yes, ma'am.
In a church situation, would you not be to your advantage to plan, like you have 4 exits, and maybe this part of the church goes that way, this part goes that way, so not everyone's going to the same direction? Or else have a turning plan, they turn in one door, you can't go out that door. I mean, should there not be a plan so everybody doesn't go the same direction?
Her question was, should there be a plan in place to make sure that everyone's not bottlenecking at the door? Am I correct? Everyone's bottlenecking at the door. And like I said, you can't have a plan that just says, if anyone comes in, we're going to run out this door. Because in theory, that's good if someone were to come in that door. However, if a shooter comes in for church and just goes over there and props that door open, and then they leave out that door and come around and then enter from that door right there, that's your door you're supposed to run out, right? So now where am I going to go? That's messing my head up. They came in through the door I'm supposed to leave through, and this is a high pressure situation. I can't go out that door. So yes, absolutely, it's great to have multiple evacuation plans. So that's where we're gonna, if someone enters from there, then and that's great right there too, because if I'm a visitor at your church, I don't know your church. So I don't know where the exits are. So if I'm sitting right here and something happens, now I have to look around, where's an exit? And so those are marked perfectly. I know there's an exit here, there's an exit there. I don't know if this exit leads to that exit, but it shows me, okay, if I run towards there, now I'll see the next exit sign, hopefully, and I know how to get out of here. But yes, ma'am, it's important to have a safety plan in place with contingencies. So if this happens, we're gonna do this. And if this happens, we're gonna do this. Yes, ma'am.
So what has really truly been done with all the shootings that's been back in the main, the church, the school, then we just had another one that tried to get into the school. So what is really the plan? I mean, because it's continuing to go on and on and on, and thousands of people are losing their lives behind that. So what are we really doing?
The FBI investigates every single mass shooting like that. Any active shooter, it's not just handled on a department level. It's investigated by the FBI. They come in and they analyze every little thing. I mean, you should see the briefs that we get after these incidents. I mean, I'll pull it up. It's forwarded from our chief. And I mean, we're talking 20 to 30 pages of breaking everything down. And what they do is they learn from it. Just like Chief said with Columbine. Before Columbine, there weren't really any active shooters on U.S. soil, right? So after that happened, you said what? Okay, but even Kent State, I'm sure they learn things from Kent State. Every time something happens, we learn from it. So when you have that mass shooting at Columbine, you learn that you don't show up and stay outside and just wait as people are inside getting gunned down. You learn that you have to go inside and you have to stop the threat. So that mentality has definitely helped us with our responses. We have a response, basically, if I get there, I mean, we have policies and procedures that we go by, but I'm telling you one thing, if I get there and I hear people, I hear gunshots being popped off, and I hear people screaming, and I understand things are going on right inside, right there, I'm not gonna stand at that door and wait while people are getting killed. I'm going inside, and I'm gonna handle what I need to handle.
But it seems like these active shooters that are being able to get guns that shouldn't be getting guns. So, I mean, it has to start somewhere. Someone needs to stop these people that are angry with their mother-in-laws or their in-laws or their ex-wives and, taking things from people happening.
Unfortunately, I hate to say it, but we cannot prevent any crime from happening. If we could, we would, because we wouldn't let anybody do anything. But we can't, we're reactive. So when something happens, our goal is to get there and try and stop it as fast as possible. I can't stop any one of you from doing anything that you want to do. As far as acquiring a gun, I mean, unfortunately, guns are stolen. Guns are sold under the table. So there's no background check when I buy a gun in the back alley. You understand what I'm saying? So, I mean, we can't stop people that shouldn't have guns from getting guns. Gun laws are only good for the law-abiding citizen. A criminal is not going to walk into a gun-free zone and say, oh, I can't do this here. It's a gun-free zone. Let me turn around and go find somewhere else, right? The gunman's going to go in there, and they're probably going to target that location because it is a gun-free zone. Because I know, based on these signs out here, they don't want guns in there. So if I bring my gun in there, I'm going to be the only person in there with a gun. And that's not a good deal. Yes, sir. Did you want to say something, Chief? No. Okay. Yes, sir. Hey, I'm sorry, he had his hand up. Give me 1 second and I'll come right over here.
Just if your church has a security team, do they need to coordinate something with you prior or make you aware there is such a team or unit at that church? And how do they work with you? Because they would respond immediately while you're on the way.
I would say not necessarily, unless if they're uniformed and you know that the security team wears maybe red shirts or something, that's not, or probably wouldn't want to wear red. But if they wear a certain color shirt or has a logo on there, we know when we get there, if there's a person that matches that description, that is the security team. That would be vital information. If you have all people who wear green shirts with the church logo right here, then that's good information so we can know. Anything on that, Chief?
Yeah, let's play what if for just a moment, ladies and gentlemen. All right, what if? What if it's Friday, November the 17th, and shots are being fired at Duncanville High School? We all know that it's one of the largest high schools in the nation with approximately 4,000 students. So it's 12 noon. and shots are fired at the high school, and all of a sudden, over the police radio, we're beginning to receive 911 calls from Duncanville High School. It's going to rain police at Duncanville High School. I want everybody in here to know it's going to rain police. Our radio system, our calls are dispatched over radio, and there are 3 police departments that receive those calls. Duncanville Police Department, Cedar Hill Police Department, and DeSoto Police Department. We share a radio system. As Officer Williams indicated, the first officer or officers that arrive at Duncanville High School, we're not going to wait on backup. We've taken that oath to protect you, even if it means that we're going to die. So we're going to go in there and we're going to be listening, we're going to be looking, where's the shooter? That's our number one priority, where's the shooter? So the officers that arrive, he or she is going to get the rifle out of the car, he or she is going to get their helmet if they have one, he or she is going to get their rifle-rated body armor, and we're going inside, we're listening for where the shots are, and our number one objective is to take that person out. If he or she surrenders, fantastic, but chances are that's not going to happen. We're going to find that person, and we're going to take him out. We want to stop the killing. That's our number one objective. If you look at the active shooter events across the nation, they are over with like that. It don't last a long time. Shooter comes in, shooter knows exactly what he's going to do. And I say he because generally it's a man. They want to kill as many people as they can, knowing that the police are coming. So I want you to know that we have trained. We hope that we never have to use that training here in the city of Duncanville. But if we hear something that occurs in Cedar Hill, we're responding to Cedar Hill just like Cedar Hill is responding to Duncanville. If we hear something in DeSoto, we're responding to DeSoto just like DeSoto is going to respond here. Our objective is to get inside that location, whatever it is, and stop the killing. Now, we're fortunate, as I indicated at the beginning of this presentation, we have the necessary equipment to take care of the matter. Our officers have rifles. We don't want to go inside without a rifle. Now, having said that, if this is all you have, this is all you have. If you remember the shooting that took place in Garland, you guys remember that? That's all he had. He just had his handgun. But you can't back away. You got to do your job. And fortunately for the city of Garland, and for those individuals at that venue, that also had practice and practice and practice and practice. And he was able to take out a man with a rifle with his handgun. But he had practice and practice and practice. So I guess my point is, it's great that we're here, it's great that we're discussing these things, and it's great that we're picking up this knowledge to protect yourself, but just know that your local police department is going to be ready. Now, even when I'm off duty, if I'm out dinner, if I'm at the movie, and I drive up to the movie cinema, I'm looking around, I'm scanning, where's the exits? I also have my weapon with me, and I have an extra magazine with me. So if I'm in the movie cinema and I'm in civilian clothes and there's something that happens, most police officers across this nation, they're going to be ready. They're going to be ready to act. If I'm at lunch and I'm driving from lunch and I hear the radio, there's a shooting somewhere here in the city of Duncanville, I'm responding as a police chief. In the back of my SUV is body armor, additional body armor. There's a helmet. There's a rifle. We have an obligation to do a job. Hope I'm not scaring anybody. That's not the purpose here. I just want you to know that we're going to be ready.
Thank you, Chief. Yes, sir.
If hiding and running do not work out and you have to fight, and the shooter comes in and you subdue him, but you accidentally kill him, what should those people do if you accidentally shoot?
I would say a phone call needs to be placed, letting law enforcement know, hey, this is what happened. The gunman came inside this room, we incapacitated him, I don't know if he's breathing or not, or he's not breathing anymore, hold your position, try and give hey, I'm inside of the equipment room over here. So let officers know so they can get to you and y'all hold what you have. Because if, let's say you knock that person down and you think they're not breathing anymore, everyone's seen the movie, right? You turn your back and they're down and everything's good. You walk off and then they jump back up, right? I mean, that kind of thing does happen in real life. So if you knock that person down, incapacitate them, breathing, not breathing, whatever, and you get that weapon away, I say as many people as you can need to hold that person down, because you don't want that person getting back up and then getting access to a secondary weapon or that same weapon that they had. You hold that person down.
Chief, and Officer Williams, hindsight on Sullivan Springs, what has been thought through that?
They can't hear your question in the back.
What has been thought through with regards that the shooter had anger issues with family members? What, as a pastor, how can I either inform my congregation or write within the blog or try to get something so that if something is happening within a family systems, sometimes we're the first to know, sometimes we're the last to know. But how could we, in a very creative way, help our congregation know that if anything's happening within their family system that could be threats, that they should have an obligation or they sure are encouraged to talk to someone that could then do something about it. And so that bothers me, that concerns me, because could it have been prevented? Probably not, because this man probably was already decided he was going to do something. But if another individual knew of those threats, how could we have maybe diffused it or at least make you aware of these threats? Now we're not legally obligated to let you know those threats, except for an active, ongoing child abuse. That's the only where the law says there is no confidentiality. So everything else has confidence. But I wonder if that's going to change because of something like Sutherland Springs.
So are you saying if there's a third party who learns of some threats or thoughts that someone's having, maybe this person says, oh, you know, I'm just going to get everybody. Everybody's against me. I'm going to do something about it today. Something of that nature. If they tell someone else, or are you saying the individual themselves?
That family member who was threatened by this man ultimately killed her could have told that clergy person or someone else. What have you done to help maybe calm that?
Frank, that's an excellent question. And I'm going to try my best to answer it, but I'm not sure there is a good answer. I think, first of all, as a pastor of your church, you may hear some things from a member of your church. They're sharing some really confidential information with you. And we're going to rely on your expertise, basically, to say, I might need to report this to the Duncanville Police Department. And we take that information, and we have a lot of databases at our disposal that you're not going to have. And so, based on the information that you share with us, we may take that information and run this individual through a database, and to see if there's prior arrest, to see if he or she has military experience, or see if there's any mental illness. So we're going to do everything we can to try to gather as much intelligence, if you will, to try to help make an informed decision. And there's a possibility that once we have that information, that we can work jointly to try to get this person the assistance that they need. There's so many things that we can do and we can't do so that we don't violate someone's rights. we really just have to work very closely together. That's the best answer that I can give you. We're going to rely on you to share information with us, and we're going to work together. I will tell you, I attend a very large church, and there's a program in place, a security program, where there are multiple officers positioned throughout the church. Some are in uniform, some are not in uniform. The ones that are not in uniform, you have no idea who they are or where they are. The officers that, when I arrived at church, there are officers outside that are directing traffic. There are also uniform officers positioned inside the church. And once everybody arrives and they come inside the church, well, then the uniform officers, several of them will come inside, several of them will stay outside and begin to monitor the parking lot. So there's a plan in place. And so what I would say, in addition to sharing information with the Duncanville Police Department, you're going to have a staff there. And you have to share that information with your staff. Maybe that person sits in a certain section. Maybe you designate someone, well, listen, this is confidential information. Don't go telling all your friends, but I need you to know that. He or she sits in a certain section. I need you to watch this individual. We want to respect people's rights, but it's come to a point to where we're having to do things now to ensure everyone's safe. Who would have thought that a patrol officer now has to carry a rifle? Back when I started, there was a shotgun and a sidearm. A rifle was for the military. If you don't have a rifle in your police department now, you're setting your officers up to get seriously injured. You better equip them with the resources they need to do their job. So I hope that answers your question. That's a complicated situation, but we will have to work together to try to get that resolved.
Just to piggyback on that, I would hope the mission of the Duncanville Police Department is community policing. So I would hope that people understand that we have the community's minds in our best interest, okay? We're here, we want people, I understand people confide in you as a pastor, but we do get a lot of calls where people confide in us as officers. And that's great information, giving it to someone who can definitely do something with it. If we let the people know and our citizens know that we're here to help you guys, and they understand that that's our mission, our goal is not to take people to jail. If we could have a day where we don't take anybody to jail, I'm sure our chief would love that. And our officers would love that. We don't like doing those things. We don't like using force, but unfortunately things happen. So if people understand that our mission is to assist people, we want those people coming forward and speaking with our officers so our officers can help try to prevent those situations if they're not going to come out due to a confidentiality deal.
Let me add one other thing, ladies and gentlemen, that I failed to share with you. We have a gun store in our city, in Cedar Ridge. It's a shooting range. They sell firearms. If a person comes into that location and purchases multiple weapons, the owner is required to notify me. I get a report, I get a name, I get a date of birth, I get an address, I get the type of weapons that he or she purchased. We take that information and we put it into our computer-aided dispatch system. So when our officers respond to that location, we know that Mr. A, B, or C has purchased multiple weapons, and those weapons are at this location. I think that's an excellent law that's been implemented so that that information is shared with the local police departments. And I will tell you that that location does a good job. I get multiple reports of weapons that are purchased at that location.
Yes, sir. Right back here.
First of all, we screen everybody that comes into our worship center. We have somebody there that knows practically everybody that does it, and we have eyes on everybody that comes in. In this day and age, it kind of happens. We also have somewhere between 8 and 12 CHL
Yes, sir. Great ideas. 1 second, right behind you. She had her hand up. I'm gonna go with, excuse me, there, here, and then right back to you, sir.
Okay, I have one concern. Now, if we're sitting in this sanctuary and the active shooter ended, and there is the exit door here, how do we get our elderly people out? Do we just leave them?
As best as you can. I mean, as best as you can to get out. I mean, I can't tell you how to. It says run, hide, fight. If you can run and help others to get out safely, then do that by all means. But everyone needs to try and get up. And if I can help someone to the door quickly, then I'm gonna help them up. I mean, if a gentleman can scoop up an elderly person and run out, or if a female can scoop up an elderly person, or maybe two people carry as you're running out, then, I mean, I can't tell you how to do it in that situation. It just depends what situation I'm gonna be in as to how I need to help get them out.
So you shift it, if you just say here, and there's an active shooter coming in, we all shift here.
Well, here's the deal. At that point, do you think it's very important for you to confront that shooter? You can run. You can run, because that's what they say, to run, okay? But if I'm where this gentleman is here, and the active shooter walks in that door right there, do you think I'm gonna make it to that door and get out by the time this guy's shooting? Okay, so at that point, it's imminent to me. I need to do something. I have to act violently, and I need to do it right now. Because I know I'm not gonna make it to that door before that person can gun me down, right? So I have to fight. We have to fight. Everybody that's right there, we have to fight and take care of that situation.
Many other people don't answer this question, but as a usher in our church, I know that there are a lot of cell phones out. What happens if you were to dial 911 on your cell phone and then turn it off? Because I understand you don't want somebody to give away a location or something like that, you are hiding, or even if you're crouched down for PDQs and things like that, you don't want to let somebody know that you're really there. What happens, what's the capability of the 911 system with a cell phone if all you do is dial 911 and then for whatever reason, phone's broken, you have to turn it off? What happens? What happens?
When there's a 911, the question was, what happens if you call 911 and you hang up your phone or it gets disconnected? When you call 911, the call goes to a cell phone tower, and then it's triangulated by 3 different cell phone towers, so we try and get an approximate location. So if you were to call 911 right now and hang up, then the officers will get a call dispatched to them saying 911 hang up in the area of 500 East Freeman, and it'll say within so many feet, within 200 feet. So we may not know it's right here at this church, but we know, okay, we received a 911 hang up in this area. Okay, and if we start getting several 911 hang-ups in this area, we know, okay, something's probably going on pretty serious, but we know where to focus our area. Does that make sense? Basically, when you call in, it goes to different cell towers, and they'll bounce around and they triangulate your location. Right, as long as it makes contact. Now, if you call, press talk, and then your battery dies right that second, it may not have gone through to the dispatch. They may not have received your call. If it was enough to go to the dispatch, they receive the call, 911, and then it hangs up, at that point, they should have your location. Make sense?
There's 2 critical pieces of information that, to answer your question, just know when you dial from your cell phone, it's not like your landline. Your landline is going to give an exact location. Your cell phone is going to give us approximate location, but it's going to be pretty close. If you were to dial your cell phone now, it's going to go to Southwest Regional Communications Center, and it's going to give us the Freeman Street area. All right, so we're going to have enough general information to probably locate where you are. The other thing is Southwest Regional Communications Center is set up to take text messaging at their dispatch center. I would encourage everyone to go online and figure out that number and how that process works. You don't have to say a word. You can text message. You can send information via text message through our dispatch center.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
How helpful, when there's a campus environment and multiple floor plans, is it to provide you with that information? Because they might say,
Absolutely. So if you take the full training, it does mention, and that's more specific to churches, office buildings and things of that nature, but it's definitely, it relates to churches. One thing that they recommend is to put floor plans by the exits. So that way, if officers need to go in, like you said, they may say they're in Susie's office. I do not know where Susie's office is. That doesn't help me. But if they can say they're in Susie's office and show me right here, and I understand that I'm entering through this door and I need to go to the left and it's the second door on the left, that's where the shooter was last seen. That's valuable information. So yes, sir, one of the things they do recommend is keeping floor plans next to the exits, not necessarily for other people to take, obviously, but maybe an inconspicuous location to where if you need to go out and give that to an officer, you can say that there are people inside of this room that need help. Make sense? That's a very great point. Thank you very much.
Can I get all of the pastors to just stand up for a moment so we can see who all the pastors that are here?
All the pastors, please stand.
Let's give them a round of applause. They care enough about their congregations that they chose to show up this evening to get information to help their churches be safe. So, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you being here. And Ginger, thank you so much for the invitation to come out. And ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know that if there's anything that we can do regarding active shooter training, please don't hesitate to call us. We're here to serve you. We're here to serve you. And we're going to do everything in our power to ensure that this community is safe. We have a wonderful community. We have a wonderful community here in Duncanville, and we care about each other. And we're behind the scenes training. I want you to know that. And we're supplying our officers with the equipment that they need. I will tell you that an active shooter event can happen anywhere. You don't know where it's going to happen. You don't know when it's going to happen. You have to be ready. You have to be ready. And that's why our officers are carrying the equipment that they need on and off duty. So thank you very much for the invitation to be here.
Thank you so much. There are a few things that we can do. As a community, we have a prayer meeting. I don't know who knows that this goes on the second and fourth Thursday of the month. Every month, been going on for about 10 years, and the pastors get together and pray at Ben Franklin Apothecary. We just sit back there in Kitchen's Deli and pray, and so we would invite you to come because we need to pray. We need God's help. People have lost their faith, and we have a responsibility as believers to help people regain that faith. We can also reach out to young people. There's a lot of young people that don't have support, don't have two parents, don't have married parents, and that kind of commitment that the parents rotate in and out of the home. And so we can help those kids if we'll reach out. They're really, really responsive. Another thing we can do is when you buy presents for Santa Cops, do not buy any video games. Okay, just don't buy these violent things. We really have to write manufacturers, write Hollywood, people that are producing movies that are just filled with violence. I mean, look at the immorality and the violence in movies. You just go home and scan through movies that are available. It's a shame. The church needs to, instead of approaching with an angry approach with a what's right for our kids and a reason for not producing those kind of things. There are video games now where if you hate your boss, you can put together a game that has your boss in it, that you go and you kill your boss. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And you used to have certain stages and you'd gain points, and now there's none of that. You don't gain points at all. It's a free fall. You just shoot whoever you want. And so that sort of thing, we as a church can stand and provide something better and kind of make a statement and make a stand for something better. It's our responsibility. That's why we're here. So there are things we can do. So I want to see y'all on the second. Yes, ma'am?
I'd like the chief to tell the people about the safe zone in front of the police station. I don't know if
Okay, we'll end with that. The safe zone in front of the police station.
The Duncanville Police Department has 2 parking spaces directly in front of the police department that are monitored by surveillance. And we use those 2 spaces for individuals who want to trade via social media. If you see something on OfferUp or you see something via social media and someone wants to look at it, don't meet them at their apartment complex at 9 o'clock at night. So you're going to get robbed. All right? Meet them in front of the Duncanville Police Department where you're going to be safe. You want to see that pretty truck that you saw on the internet or wherever, have them drive it to the Duncanville Police Department where it's monitored. There's a surveillance system. You're going to be safe. I can't tell you how many people buy something online, they meet a stranger at a strange location, and they get robbed, and they wonder, well, why did I get robbed? Because you didn't make a good decision. All right? Think about your safety. But what she's referring to is directly in front of the Duncanville Police Department. There are 2 designated spots. There's a big sign that says Safe Zone. You're being recorded at that location. All right? You're being recorded for your safety. For your safety. There's also custody exchange. When you have a couple that's divorced and they exchange, they will come there. It's being recorded.
Thank you for coming, and we're dismissed.